All right, welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South with your host Mike Patton. And on this episode, we will be talking about preseason game number 2 with Tennessee Titans, Atlanta Falcons, and looking forward to preseason game number 3 versus the Minnesota Vikings. And I have a special guest with me, someone that has definitely wore this Titan uniform and that has definitely played the game at a high level. That would be Mr. Blaine Bishop. The Hitman is on the show. What's going on, Blaine?
What's going on, Mike, man? Thanks for having me on, man. Those are the good old days, but hopefully the Titans can get back to that. Maybe not this year, but maybe in the near future.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see indeed. Speaking of getting back to things, of course, we do got to talk about preseason game number 2. Of course, playing against the Atlanta Falcons. But I do have to ask you, just off the top, I had to ask you. I thought about this, I didn't ask you about this one, but
No, that's cool. You can ask
the
me
fight,
anything. Yeah.
the fight at practice, man. The fight at
The
practice.
fight.
You
What
had
what fight?
yeah, that's what I'm saying too. That's what I'm saying too. But the fight at practice, Cam Ward throws a touchdown pass, Calvin Ridley. He does his dance. He pushes Jeff pushing back. The whole team gets out there, and then next thing you know, they're ushering Jeff off with PR out of practice and everything, and and all that type of stuff. I'm like, hey, fights happen. I don't know how many fights I got in practice over my time, but fights happen, and they cool. It just happens. What were your thoughts on it? Do you think it was like blowing out of proportion?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Naturally, that's gonna be news because it's Cam Ward and it's Jeffery Simmons. Number one pick and best player on the Titans football team. So obviously, it's gonna draw some attention. But first and foremost, you don't want to ever have your quarterback involved in any skirmishing or anything. So I thought that's where Cam Ward was wrong. He went up and pushed Big Jeff from behind. Jeff probably just reacted. I wasn't there and turned around and just pushed whoever pushed him. And that's all that really happened after that. And then naturally, the offensive line come and protect their quarterback, which is what they're supposed to do. And I'm sure Jeff was doing some big barking, and he's that big, big enforcer there on the team and the leaders there. So I thought that's probably about it. But a lot of people were trying to say that you never touched a quarterback. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I never known McNair, Billy Volek, Neil O'Donnell. You name the quarterbacks, they were never part of any skirmish. I don't care how tough they were. We all know how tough McNair was. So that's just not part of the MO. So you just lesson learned. He might have been having fun. He was doing his little zombie thing, and then push. So you just gotta be careful. Don't get caught up in the moment. And Big Jeff, he can be, just look around and make sure who you're dealing with first of all. But at the moment, I'm sure he was a little hot, and then J.C. Latham kind of pancaked him to play before that, and so some things was going on. But I don't think it was a big deal. It may come out to benefit the Titans as far as them as a team, draw them closer, because it really wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't like people came from each sideline and it was just like people swinging and tearing people's helmets off and stuff like that. It was nothing like that. So. Yeah, I think the deal in Atlanta was much bigger than anything that this was. So um, I just think because it was Big Jeff, it becomes a thing here locally. But there was no fight there. There was just pushing and shoving and brotherly love, man. Everybody knows they get into skirmishes and tiffs with their brothers all the time. So that's what it's all about.
Right. That's right. That's what I thought about it too. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I can't remember how many times I got in a fight with an offensive lineman or maybe a running back or what. I can't remember how many times I got into a fight, but we were still cool afterwards every
Oh yeah,
time.
well that's that brotherly love. You go into war, you go into battle with your guys. I'm gonna say war, but battle. And so yeah, develop a rapport, and you look at a guy and be like, hey, my bad, But yeah, I wasn't in too many skirmishes like that. Well, I did it one time, and I was so exhausted. I mean, I was dead tired. I had nothing left for the rest of the practice. I said, I'm not doing that no more. I was always the guy on the outside, like, hey man, get off of there and do that. It was too exhausting. I couldn't do it. And once you start dealing with those 300-pound dudes, man, is a whole nother level. They can just lean on me, man. Then next thing you know, I'm on going the other way. So you gotta know how to pick your battles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, getting to, of course, picking battles. Of course, there's been plenty that have dissected the numbers of Mr. Cameron Ward in the Atlanta game. He was 2 of 7, 42 yards. To be honest, I don't think the numbers quite justify how good or well he played. But through 3 series in that game, I mean, what did you think of his play? I mean, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought he was on time with a lot of things. Maybe he could have been more accurate on some throws. Yeah, sure. But I thought the biggest thing was he was on time, and that's the biggest thing I think that he's trying to get to from going Miami to being the number 1 pick for the Tennessee Titans and running that offense. I mean, what were your thoughts on just what you saw?
Yeah, I've been impressed with him each and every game, and he hasn't done everything right, but obviously he looks like a guy that's comfortable in the pocket, has a great feel for the pocket presence, hasn't got a lot of pressure, by the way. So I don't know what that means if they're offensive line or who they're competing against, whether 2s or 3s or whoever it is. But he's looked really good back there and really comfortable. I've seen him look off, some safeties and then complete some balls. I think he's been on time for preseason. It'll be really interesting when the speed ratchets up another level if he can stay on time then too, because it's going to take a period of time. And sometimes it could take you a half. Sometimes it could take you up to 3 games. I could just go back to my time. It took me about 3 games where I felt like the speed of the game eventually got to like I was in college. Some guys, it never translates and it just doesn't. And I don't know why that is, but I don't care what school you went to. It doesn't matter if you could have went to Alabama or Notre Dame or Tennessee. It really doesn't matter. It just, it's eye control and discipline and speed of the game. It just all has to come together. So I would assume that he can, but I don't like to make assumptions that he will adapt to that speed. And then, being in the heat of the battle, really in a regular game is totally different. But you get a good base point here on what he looks like. And hey, I'm thoroughly impressed. He's not some overly super talented quarterback, let's say like Matthew Stafford when he came out. He's not that, but he is a polished quarterback with that kind of mindset, and he's finding what he can and can't do and what he can get away with. And I think that's ultimately the most important thing. He still has to get a rapport with his young receivers too. They didn't play Calvin Ridley or Lockett, I think, so they could start getting on the same page with his young guys in live games. So that was, I thought, was vitally important this last game.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Ridley and Lockett, of course, they did sit out that game. So the young guys were stepping in there. Of course, you had Alec Manor, who had a nice game. You had James Prochet, who's had a nice game. It was actually, he's making a case for himself. But, of course, with guys that are making cases for themselves, there's also a guy that's not making necessarily a great case for himself. That'd be Van Jefferson. He had a huge drop. I mean, the ball could not have been walked to him better. It hit him in his hands. Cam took up for him after the game, said he walked up to him after the game and after the play and said, hey, what could I have done to get that pass better to you? Van Jefferson talked to media and said, hey, that's on me, essentially. So with everything kind of shaking out the way it is, the young guys playing harder in terms of Porsche and Manor and those guys. And then you have Van Jefferson, who's a veteran that's kind of been around the league. I mean, do you think it's a realistic shot that Van Jefferson gets cut before this season starts?
Oh, well, I'm not going to go that far. And, it's, one play doesn't define what you've been doing the entire season at practice and other preseason games. And I know everybody's trying to say he had another drop. That was a great PBU by the DB on another one in a previous game before that. So I would say no. I think what it does do, though, it does bring to Alec Manor, does he kind of now running stride for stride with you as far as the starter. And so it'll be interesting to see how much when the season starts, if Jefferson's the guy or they rotate more so, you know what I mean? So I think he's still going to be on the roster. I'd be surprised because he's not making a big dough like that. So I think you need a veteran, even if you didn't start him, let's just say that happened and you start Alec Manor, I feel like you still have to have his presence there based off of who's all on the roster. So that would be, Oliver and then Porche. So I just think both of those guys are going to make the team as well. So no, I think he's going to still be on the roster. I don't think but I could be completely wrong. But that's how I would operate if I was, the general manager or the coach of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you just do you know how many receivers have dropped balls? Like even the greatest of all time, Jerry Rice, dropped balls. I mean, man, we gotta get real serious. Now, I was at the game live, and when that play happened, I said he's gotta catch that ball. He's gotta find a way to catch that ball, and it's because he's been in the league 4 or 5 years now. If Alec dropped it, it probably wouldn't have been as big a deal, right? Because you're going to give him the pass because he's a young player. He's a rookie, right? A guy who is at one point was a starter and now is probably a fourth on most teams. Got to make that catch. It's got to make that catch. You got to sell out. You got to dive. You got to make a case for I had no shot of getting that ball. So that's all I was trying to say. I think he's a solid player. I mean, you watch him in practice. He's a smooth operator, wearing great routes, natural catcher, smooth. I just, just got to get more out of him. And sometimes, maybe, he's got to have something like that to happen to kind of open up his eyes and take him to the next level. Got to have some failures in life to move forward. And so,
yeah, we'll definitely see.
Hopefully he get an opopportunity. Hopefully he get an opportunity and not get released as you're suggesting. But I hope not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just have that question. I mean, the way I'm of the belief of if you got a guy that's a wide receiver that's a young guy, and you got a wide receiver that's a veteran, and I'm of the belief that you go with the young guy as opposed to the veteran. That's just my thinking. That's why I was thinking of maybe they release him to free up playing time for the young guys and allow them to kind of grow more as opposed to the veteran that's kind of been around for a while.
No, I would agree with that premise. I just wouldn't cut him, because you don't know what could happen. I say this. Okay, you cut Van Jefferson. Our man is a starter. You say you keep him Porche, right? Okay. 2 weeks till the regular season. Oops. Alec Alexander strains his hamstring. Oops, somebody already picked up Van Jefferson. See, so this is why you keep veterans, especially guys like him. He's sat on the bench. He started, so he's not going to be a locker room problem. He's a team player. I think him and Lockett both are on a time clock for me. When they draft two guys in the same position, they're waiting for you to hand off the baton, whether that's because you're winning and they're going to keep you out there, or if the team is losing, then they're going to start transitioning slower, more and more to the younger players. So I kind of love that kind of mentorship from players who are still fighting for jobs like veterans to the young players to kind of teach them the ropes in game, what you can do, which, some coaches do that, and some coaches kind of let you learn on your own as far as once you're in the game. And I think that's kind of how I would play this. I would play both of the young players and the veterans in the beginning of the season, but in crunch time, I'm still trying to win games, and ultimately I need people who have been in this game and played in it before.
Okay. All right. The one other thing I want to talk about is, of course, the offensive line play has been something that has been talked about for the last couple of years when it comes to the Tennessee Titans.
God.
I know it's preseason. Yeah. But the O-line has been solid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, is there a reason for excitement? Does this bode, or do we need to wait till the regular season starts to kind of lift them up, be like, okay, this O-line is ready to go? Or is it too much excitement already? Or are we need to wait?
Well, I just always like to wait, temper the excitement. But hey, when you're not saying anything about the O-line, that is great. You ask an O-lineman. When you're not mentioning their name, because they only get mentioned when they get a holding, false start, or do some bad play. So they have done a really good job. So hopefully that will continue. I think they'll at least be, at worst case scenario, middle of the road as far as a unit. But you got to remember now, you got a big time free agent you signed for Big Doe, Moore Jr. You got J.C. Latham, first round pick. You got Skoronsky, first round pick. You got Cushenberry, another high signing. They better be freaking good, and that's not even counting Zeitler, who was a big signing. So you got 2 first rounder and 3 big signing veteran players. They better be good. I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about as far as last 2 seasons, but with what they, the collateral they put into that, man, if they're average, that'll be expected and a little above that. Yeah, that's what I'd be expecting.
Yeah,
And by the way, you got
it'll be a
Bill Callahan coaching them.
little frustrating, some too.
Yeah, it would be frustrating if they're not a good unit. But now I can say this about O-line play. It's not always about how they do individually. It's how they play in sync as one, as a unit, which is kind of interesting. So I think they've done that. And so, but I'm a big fan of Latham and Skoronski have really, I feel like, turned the corner based off, when they first got here. So, and Latham going back to his, the right tackle, and Skoronski finally, I think he's figuring out, what his role as far as his limitations of what he can and cannot do in this league. And they had him in the right position. I was always thought he was going to be a guard. He was a technical guy with not a lot of foot quickness like most of the tackles do, and then he had the shorter arm. So that tells you he's a guard. So I never thought he was a tackle. Not in the National Football League. It's different. Like, watch this. I was a corner. I was never going to be a corner in the National Football League. These dudes are too fast. Too fast.
No, I hear you there. Look, hey, I didn't make it to the National Football League, but when I was in high school, I was a corner. Got to college, played one day at cornerback. Oh yeah, you're a safety. It's literally what happened then and there.
Yeah. So, it's just, as you move up, what happens is they say when you move up in play as far as levels, you go from outside and you continue to move inside. So you want to give your shot. If you start inside, then you can't move anywhere, So if you're a left tackle, then you can move to guard or center. You're a corner, you can move to safety or nickel, right? So if you are safety, you can then eventually move to linebacker. See, so you continually move in. But if you already in the inside, then you have no shot. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. And I just use defense as an example, but the same thing applies for offense. You're receiver and you lose a little bit of speed, you go to tight end. That's just it. Beef up a little bit.
Yeah.
Ask Wiley. That's what Wiley did. Wiley was a receiver in high school. Got to Cincinnati, moved to tight end. Got to the pros, they may move him to tackle. Just kidding.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we gotta talk a little defense too, man. We talked a little offense, we gotta talk a little defense. And I mean, the first guy I gotta talk about defensively gotta be Cedric Gray. I mean, that guy was everywhere versus the Falcons, blitzing through the hole, meeting people in the hole, running across the field, making tackles. I mean, him and James Williams have been a battle to watch at that linebacker spot opposite of Cody Barton to see who gets that spot. And to me, I mean, I think James Williams is going to end up with the spot, but I wouldn't be mad if Cedric Gray gets the spot either. I mean, what did you expect this battle between these two for this spot? And I mean, does it bode well to you for the future of that linebacker position, potentially with these two potentially starting next to each other at some point?
Yeah, that brings excitement because over the last couple of years, just the rotation at linebacker has been just different guys every season. So you want some stability there. That's the quarterback of the defense, especially a guy calling plays. Both guys really been James Williams converting from went to the U, moving from safety to linebackers, made a huge transition, and then Cedric Gray was hurt the majority of last season. With a shoulder or whatever it was. And so he's come back with vengeance, and he was a higher pick. And so he was I think, what was he, a fourth round pick from North Carolina? And man,
he's a fourth round pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I think last season at the end when he started playing special teams, I think he finally figured out the level of play and the intensity you had to bring with it. So I saw some bright spots there. I mentioned about that on my show on 104.5 with Blaine and Zach, but I think actually he's going to win the job. I think, and only reason why I'm saying that, and it's really not because of this last game. He did well the first game against Tampa Bay, but nobody was talking about it because he didn't have any flash plays like James Williams did. Here's why I like playing with smart players. He's getting everybody lined up even the first game. See, and that means he's aware and understands where everybody's supposed to be. Guess why? That's an advantage to him because now he knows where to fit. And see, if you know what other people are supposed to do, which some players don't, you just know what you do. He knows now what everybody does, and you can tell when he's out there directing traffic. So I'm just basing it off of that, where James Williams says nothing. He just does his job. Nothing against him. He's doing a good job, by the way. I just think guys like that typically have success because it's there's read. You got to read that triangle read when you're a linebacker. His read, diagnosis, react is off the charts. You got to love it. I see James Williams sometimes do that, but I also see him directing traffic. So when I say that is, okay, one of Cody Barton's not out there, and now you're out there with Cedric Gray. Well, one of you should say, well, James Williams should now be kind of leading the pack and control. Nope, that they put them both out there together, and it was totally different. Cedric Gray ran the show, and that typically leads to that guy's going to probably be a better player, at least as of right now. But I could be totally wrong, and I know a lot of people think James Williams is going to win it, and I could see why they'd say that because I think they can't go wrong either way. And James Williams has a lot more upside, probably just because of his size and athleticism. But there's something about Cedric Gray. I just think he's gonna get it. Like, I think it. I just see
It's a
some.
win-win. It's a win-win, pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's hard. Yeah, but I mean, he got a pick. I mean, even though it was taken off the board, I mean, he on a blitz just annihilated the. I mean, man, I could play with that dude right there, man. He ran through that guy's jaw, and that's when you want to see when somebody busts you in the mouth, how you gonna respond. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I'm gonna give it to Gray, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if James Williams won it either.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very impressed by the development of both of those guys.
Yeah,
Very
Frank Bush,
impressed.
their coach has done a fabulous job developing those two young players. Yeah, got to give him that, man. Got to give him a shout out.
Definitely that. Of course, it's been 2 games, and a big thing with the Titans the last couple of years has been giving up chunk plays, and they've given up, 4 of those chunk plays during the preseason, 20 or more. Of course, 52-yard bomb to Chris Blair was the latest one against the Falcons. It's not all starters, but with the cornerback position and the depth questions there, are you concerned about the cornerback position and these chunk plays they're giving up, whether it's starters or it's backup players?
Yeah, I don't recall starters giving up chunk plays, but I could be wrong. But yeah, well, pass rush and cornerback to me is probably glaring as holes on defense. Now, one thing I can say about Denard Walker's defense, man, they fly around. They play fast. But they're in compromised positions when you're playing man to man and you're out on that island and you get exposed. I thought Harris did well, the draft pick from Kyle Berkeley, transfer from Idaho, if I can recall. And I don't like the depth. I think they need to have, and they have the first waiver claim. I would definitely pick up a veteran cornerback. I just look at what the other teams do that are successful, and how they go about, building their rosters. I mean, I look at the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They got cornerbacks for days. Like, why did they resign it? But go look at the
Mm-hmm.
Ravens. Oh, what they signed the guy we released right last year, number 13 for us
Yeah,
last year. So yeah, so I
yeah.
mean, and he's probably the last guy on their depth chart. But guess what? He's a guy with
Mm-hmm.
experience. And guess what? We just need you to be healthy for the games we need you. You're not going to be playing every game. I mean, so I just think we need a player like that, to a certain extent, because I'm not sure what's up with Sneed. To be all honest, in my mind, Baker is a backup in this league and he's going to be starting. He did a good job last year, but he's going to get exposed. His foot speed for vertical routes is just not there. He got so and Brownlee is a overly aggressive corner who should be at the nickel. So I'm sure he'll slide into there where McCreary probably is not re-signed. So I just that Snead not being healthy, man, it's real critical because the pass rush and cover play hand in hand, and he's a dog. And when healthy, at least when he was with the Chiefs, he was special. I saw what he did to Tyreek Hill, and that's no easy task. And he was basically bullied and punked him in a playoff game, and that's the kind of guy you want out there. Just unfortunate that he's not healthy. And this is his mentality isn't to want to get paid and go sit and chill. Like that's just not who he is. That's not how he's built. So I just hope that he'll be available. It's making me a little nervous now that he hasn't started revving up and started practicing. So they're going to have to make a decision, I think, August 26th on putting him on the reserve pup where he would have to then miss 4 games. So he's got to start practicing here a little bit. If not, he's not going to be. I think he is the most critical piece of the defense. And reason why is because they like to be an aggressive style defense that's man-to-man at the corners, and he can just lock down one guy, and that will make everything so much easier, especially when you don't have any elite pass rushers. So, yeah, that one there it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough without him. So they're getting by, but I would sign a veteran player for sure. Not an older guy, but like 5-6 year guy who started sometimes, kind of like Baker. Just a guy just exactly like him. I got to have another security blanket, a guy who's played in games, has experience. So yeah, it's gonna roost his head here pretty quickly because they play some really good teams early on in the season.
Right. They play let's see, the first game they played the Denver Broncos, and the second game they played the Rams. So
yeah,
boy oh boy. It's gonna be interesting. It's definitely gonna be interesting. We're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
I hear you there. And of course, with the Rams, they got Devontae Adams out there now.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough sledding. That's why you gotta, and that the pass rush work hand in hand with the secondary, man. And guys are open sometimes, but if you get the rush, so Femi's development in this defense and his pass rush ability, man, he's getting better, but he's not there yet. He's somewhat of a, I want to give him project because he did play pass rush. There he transitioned from linebacker to pass rusher, so he just gotta figure out what get him 2 moves and see if he can perfect them and get after the quarterback. So man, he got 1 game and 2 weeks till 2 or 3 weeks till the first game. So yeah, it's getting close, man.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. And of course, I do have to ask you about turnovers, man. Turnovers. The Titans didn't force a lot of turnovers last year. They've got 2 turnovers in 2 games. I know there can be some sloppy football when it comes to preseason games and some turnovers being forced. But do you? With that lack of a pass rush or excitement in the pass rush game, do you realistically see them forcing any turnovers more than last year? Because me personally, I don't see it, but I could be wrong too because they do have Jeffery Simmons inside to wreak havoc as well.
Yeah, Simmons and Sweat. Yeah, that's just they're gonna have to manufacture blitz schemes to create turnovers, and hopefully, I would say, deception, deceive quarterbacks, show one thing and then do something else. Other than that, I just if you don't put pressure on these good quarterbacks in national football league, man, it's going to be really difficult to come up with some big plays. Maybe you can get some tip balls by pressure up in the inside with Sweat and Big Jeff, and then eventually, hopefully, Femi becomes a better passer. You still got Key, and hopefully, some of these guys, these 1-year pass rush guys, have career years, which would be maybe 5 sacks in a season. So Yeah, this is I think defense, I would say of one side of the ball or the other, the offense has much more firepower and probably should carry the team a little bit early on in the season
Mm.
in the running game. Yeah, which is crazy. Your screen is black, but yeah. So yeah, secondary pass rush. I mean, if you don't have, I mean, corners and pass, if you don't have that, man, it's tough sledding. So, and that's why I was really concerned in training camp that the defense was dominating because this defense isn't a dominating defense like that. If they rank 20th, uh, I think I'd be happy about that based off of what they have on there, and I think they're getting the most out of the players they got. So the offense, I just went through the offensive line of resources they deal for that. We see the receiver resources and Calvin Ridley. So, yeah, I expect more out of the offense than the defense, and for them to score points. And I'm not talking about what they averaged last year. I don't know, 17, 18 points. No, man, they got
Mm-hmm.
put up 24 more points every game to
Mm-hmm.
help their defense out. Yeah, and early on
Yeah.
in the season, defense typically plays better. So after about 2 or 3 weeks, we'll see.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Of course, want to go into the last thing, talk about the final preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings. That'll be this Friday at Nissan Stadium, 7 o'clock. If
Mm,
you're coming to the game, by the way, or if you're looking on the local broadcast, of course, with Mr. Charles Davis from the NFL Network and CBS, he'll be the color
mhm.
analyst, I believe. So what is there any things that you're looking forward to in this final preseason game? Some guys that you're looking at like, maybe he needs to show a little something. I mean, I know one guy I'm looking at is Josh Wiley. I'm looking at him. I'm like, hey, I need you to show a little bit more if you want to make this roster because I'm not certain he's going to make the roster with what's going on at the tight end position.
Yeah, that one there, man. What's the guy with two last names? Yeah, he's a little bit better to me at tight end. Yeah, why
I think it's DMR. I just call him DMR,
DMR?
man.
Yeah, DMR, Robinson Dixon. Yeah, I think something like that. But yeah, Wiley is gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. He I think he'll be able to showcase what he can do. I'm sure they'll try to see if he's capable. But right now, no, he's not the answer any form. Just because he was a draft pick, it wasn't by this GM. So yeah, I think he's on the hot seat. He's one of the few young players that was drafted over the last 2 or 3 years that is on the hot seat. I would say, yeah. Guys who I think it's always like 10 guys. Um, have a shot of making 10. Now what was the running back they picked up? They got Mills now with Tajay Spears kind of nicked up. I don't know what his situation will be with a high
Mm-hmm.
ankle sprain. Those are very unpredictable. Um, whether you can come back, especially a running back, where you're cutting and changing directions all over the place, especially his game. So maybe they keep an extra running back. So I think the Mims kid and then the guy they just picked up to play in the Falcons game. Maybe I thought I saw some
Mm-hmm.
things out of Julius Wood, I think is his name, at safety. He was a guy that kind of stood out. Then the guy that got the pick, what's his name? Kendall Brooks or something like that. Brooks, 33. He may have a shot for special teams. He's
Yeah,
showing a
Kendall
little bit on
Brooks.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a couple D tackles I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot their name, 72 and 76. I think one's Horsey and the other guy's name starts with an R.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a shot. And then what are they going to do with Landers, the receiver? 83. He hasn't played because he's in a. I think he was in a boot, but I think he showed where maybe they cut him and bring him back or something because the guy was nice size. He's
The
like
practice
six
squad guy.
four. I think so. Yeah. And then oh yeah, David Martin Robinson is his name. Yeah, DMR. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think he's gonna make it. I like his movability. Those are kind of some of the guys off the cup. The James Lynch, 97 stood out. He's a veteran player though. I think he's like year 6 or
Mm-hmm.
so. He definitely.
Yeah,
So
he'll
he
definitely make the
belongs in.
team.
Yeah. He'll be on the team. So it's I'm sure it's tough, but when having the number one waiver wire, that'll be interesting to see what happens. Because I used to get real nervous for guys once I became a veteran. They say, "Oh, this is the guys we're gonna keep on the team," and then next thing you know, the next day, like five guys are gone and got five new guys. Like they're
Hmm.
picking up in their eyes better players. So it was always like, dang, you made the team, but oh dang, you didn't. Boy, that was a tough
Hmm.
sled. So a lot of guys gonna be super nervous. There's a lot at stake for a lot of those guys, and yeah, they're gonna sell their souls in this last game because they're gonna get a lot of playing time, not only just on offense, defense, special teams, and that's the way you make it. That's how I made the league is playing special team. I did stuff I never done before and breaking wedges and jumping over, flying in the air. Just man, I did whatever I could. So they're gonna see who really wants it. And they'll give you a shot. Yeah.
Hmm. Um,
Where you? Hey, you went black again. Where your screen? Where'd you go?
I would this
I can't
Jaquan
see or hear you.
probably in my opinion.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, now I can see you and hear you. Yeah. What did you say
Can you hear
about
me?
Jaquan Jackson? Yeah, Jackson. You said Jaquan Jackson?
Okay, cool. Jaquan Jackson. That's one guy. I think he's out there auditioning for another team on Friday, in my opinion.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would say so. He had a couple opportunities in practice and he had some drops. I think that could have made him be part of this conversation. But no, but I think he has some odds. I actually believe he's going to be on somebody's roster. At worst case, somebody's practice squad. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think he just
Right.
gotta seize the moment, and I think sometimes you get in your own head as an athlete, and you just didn't have success, and uh, you did it early, and then later it just kind of dwindled away. So also support and belief from your coaching staff too. I think so fresh start I think would be good for him.
Um,
What about you? What about your man X Xavier Restrepo?
that's what I was getting ready to ask you about. I was getting ready to ask you. Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you about him. I'm like, to me, I am like, okay, if he makes it, he's probably one of the last wide receivers that makes the team because I don't know what value he brings on special teams. That's where I'm kind of like, if you're usually one of the last wide receivers, you got to do something on special teams as well. And I don't know necessarily the value. I know the value that James Proche brings when it comes to special teams. I don't know all the value that Xavier Restrepo brings. I know he's a
Hmm.
slot wide receiver and he's talented, but I don't know what he brings special teams wise. So in that case, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he does not make. It would not surprise me.
It would not surprise you that he didn't make the team.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't make the
Yeah,
team.
yeah. I would say it the other way. It would. I would be surprised if he actually made the team, uh, which is the same thing. But I just, man, I want to be a fan of his. I really
Mhm.
relate to guys who are tough, smart. It just, he was a great receiver in college. He doesn't have enough juice. Doesn't have the size. And he doesn't bring the value, as you mentioned. He got to be a returner kind of guy. Like, okay, you start comparing players in the league, not what they did in college, in the league. And I kept saying this in the beginning of training camp. And I said I wanted to wait till we get pads on before I kind of give a judgment on Restrepo, uh, because he's a tough, son of a gun. Like, he's a fighter. Is he better than Mason Rudolph? Is what I kept saying. Is he better in any facet of his game? Is he faster than him? Is he a better
McKenzie.
athlete? Yeah, Mason Kinsey. And so, because I was figuring if he was going to find a spot, that was a guy he had to beat, and he had to be better than him. And I was looking at maybe not the Mason Kinsey of today, but what he was when he first got that opportunity. And because you always go younger there, and I just could never see it. I mean, I maybe saw flashes of hope a couple times. Other than that, that was it. And it pains me to say that because, I think he would be a fan favorite. And I appreciate players like that. So he's a practice squad player. Then after that, all bets are off. And once you be on a practice squad, you got a shot. Somebody gets injured and you can get on, the roster and then go from there. But I think he's a practice squad player.
Gotcha. Well, Corey Jackson, Senior, as chimed into the chat. Of course, he did say. Of course, he had to shout you out. Of course, said my guy BB23.
Yes, sir.
And then he also said, he says wide out number 7 for X in his opinion. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Okay, so when you say 7, so let's go through. So you give me your 7. Give me your 7 if it's 7, but give me your 7.
Okay, I'll go. Let's see. We got Ridley. We got Lockett. We got if it's 7, yeah, Van Jefferson's got to make that if it's 7.
Well, I mean, if you don't think he's gonna make it, okay.
Okay, well, I'll keep them off then. I got let's see, we go Lockett. We got Ridley. We got Alec Gale-Manor. We got Bryce Oliver. You got Chim DK. I'm trying to think 6. Oh, Porsche. I think Porsche makes it.
That's 6.
And then if that's the 7, if the 7, then X would be number 7 right there.
Okay. And so I would have all the same guys. I just would have Van Jefferson. So then I would eliminate X, and then Porsche would be last. But I think he's going to make it. It's going to be a tough call with Porsche because you're trying to figure out if DK can be that returner, because he's going to probably be the guy that is capable of doing that. So it'll be a tough call. I think he should make it. He's earned it. And actually, to me, he should have been given even more opportunity to show what he can do at receiver, because every time he got called on, he stood up. Yeah, he stood up. Like even when Simeon came, boom. So he was getting balls and making the play. So yeah, I think I liked him. I think he went to SMU. I remember when he came out, he was like a 3rd, 4th round guy. I thought he would have probably a little bit better career at this point, but it's always about timing and in the right place at the right time, man, on the right team, in the right scheme, in the right system. There's a lot into that.
Definitely. Well, Blaine, that's all I got, man. That's all I got. I'm looking forward to Friday to see what's going on with the Tennessee Titans and how they finish up this preseason. And then it's time to get ready for the real games. The first game, of course, Denver Broncos in Mile High with Bo Nix and Sean Payton and all those guys in the number 1 defense from the 2024 season. Man, it's a lot.
Oh man, it's gonna be a tough task. And the what do they call it? The altitude up there. Ooh. In Denver. So
yes,
we shall see.
Yes, sir. Well, Blaine, thank you for coming on the show. Of course, if you haven't already, tune in to Blaine on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, he's there 1 to 3 Central Standard Time. You can go on 104.5 The Zone. You can go on 104.5thezone.com and check him out. He's definitely dropping knowledge and dropping some great material on there as well. Thank you again, Blaine, for coming on the show. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South. Yes, sir. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, to this episode of Touring the AFC South, episode 51. Hopefully, we'll bring you more. We will bring you more, hopefully. But anyway, thank you all for tuning into this episode of Touring the AFC South. Let's see. We're out. Peace.